It's realism. All right, everybody, welcome back. This is going to be part 2 of the Florida Band Association Summer Conference episode. I'm Christian Gordon. I teach at Westglades Middle School in Parkland, Florida.
My name is Andrew Lopez. I'm the band director at Coniston Middle School in West Palm Beach. And yep, we're the Florida Band Podcast, the FBP. We're going to try it. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. We don't know. Because what we want, the tagline was like, it was Florida Band Podcast. You know why you're here.
I don't know. Yeah, but yeah. That for the new one, yeah, that one's good. So because you were like, what's going to be our tagline? It's the Florida Band Podcast. They know why they're here.
It's the Florida Band Podcast.
We just told you. Florida Band Podcast.
That's all you need to know.
Right. So when we left off, we had just talked about the Middle School Rebuilding with Purpose panel.
And we talked about marching forward.
We did talk about marching forward, that's right. And then we started talking about some things we wish they talked about, which we will revisit at the end of this episode. But for now, let's just continue to day 2 of the conference.
Yeah.
Our day started with the jazz band reading session, which ended up being just a listening session.
That's how the day started?
That's how our day started.
Oh.
Well, other than the exhibits.
Oh yeah,
right. We did some exhibits.
We did. Yeah, we kind of already talked about those. We can talk about the raffle and stuff later, though.
Exhibits. Yeah, we gotta talk about the raffle.
And what came after that?
Yeah. All right. So, it was Edgar Rubio, who teaches at Silver Trail Middle School in Pembroke, I believe Pembroke Pines, and he did a great
he's in your
listening
county, right?
session. Yeah, he's in Broward.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's well known for just being a great band director overall, but also having really good jazz bands and having lots of knowledge about jazz band. And he put on a really great listening session. And he basically put together like 8 or 9.
I think it was 10.
Potential MPA programs for your jazz band. Mm-hmm. Starting from very easy, going on to medium hard, right?
Yeah.
So.
And it was cool. I actually got the chance to ask him about it, like how to, because people have done that at conferences before, of just like, here's some makeshift programs of, ideas that are well balanced and what you could do. And he was saying that he spent like a long time actually on J.W. Pepper and calling up the different publishers of like, what are good charts, where can we get, like, where can I find them and listen to them and stuff like that. He said because he's done listening clinics before, he said this one took him like the most
he said he had like 2 or 3 people help him with the analysis.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was really cool, just like for me, one of my favorite things about that clinic, I have 2 favorite things. My first favorite thing is just listening to the progression of it, of just like very beginning. And it was really cool to see him, the source recordings, where it's like he was one of like the middle school super easy charts. He referenced, like, for like really easy slow swing, he referenced either a lot of basic Count Basie or a lot of like Neil Hefti arrangements of like the Ellington band, or of like, I think like one of them was like Lil Darlin and the other one was Cute, and just kind of like in that vein. I appreciated the source recordings because, like, a lot of times when you're doing jazz recordings and you're showing jazz listening to the kids, you could show like the professional recording of the arrangement that you're doing, or you could talk about the style you're trying to fit in, mm-hmm. which I feel might maybe get a more authentic sound. Mm-hmm. So I liked how he chose, these are professional source recordings of style and not the source recording of the actual piece of music. I thought that was cool. The second thing that was cool was just like a short little plug. Howard Rowe, he's like a big jazz composer for Hal Leonard and for like he has a lot of stuff on J.W. Pepper. He's actually friends with Marissa's grandfather.
Oh.
Yeah, I met him a couple years ago in Rochester, and I forgot the name of the piece, but I'll find it later. But there's actually a jazz band piece that was commissioned in 2017 for Marissa's jazz band, and it says in the program like for Marissa. So and he had a couple Howie Rowe. Every time I saw Howie Rowe, I was like, Howie Rowe, I like Howie. He's a nice guy. So those are, I liked that part of the reading session, and I also I guess if I had a third thing, it'd be just listening. It was nice and relaxing. What about you?
I liked the thorough analysis of each piece. He gave ranges for trumpet and trombone, and he talked about the different sections you would need to. He talked about for each piece you'll need a strong rhythm section or a strong trumpet section, and he said if you do have that, then you can let them loose on certain parts of this piece, and he actually named the different parts and the pieces where you would want strong soloists or pieces that are easy to solo on. He would mention that in the notes of each piece. And I also like the reference recordings too. So basically just referencing jazz standards that are already out that are in the same style of the piece that he was presenting.
Another thing I thought was really cool, especially with all the, but it was specifically with, he did it with everything that wasn't swing, because like swing is pretty straightforward, but like with the Latin pieces, he would specify what kind of Latin piece it is, like it was a salsa or it was a bossa or it was the beat had to be like a merengue beat on the drums, and he would say like if for this piece maybe not timbales would work, but you could do bongos and congas. Or like, and he was like on some of the rock pieces he was like a cowbell would work here, or you make sure you have this kind of voicing on the guitar. Like he included those notes in there just to all go towards again like that more accurate style, which kind of tells you where Edgar's priorities are as a jazz musician and as a jazz band leader. And he's been doing jazz bands in Florida forever. Is he the chair of the jazz? I think he's the chair, right? He's got.
I know at some point. Yeah, I know for FBA he is. I believe.
Yeah, but he was.
I think he did FMEA too.
Yeah, but he's been awesome, and like that clinic, I wish we could have played, because that would have been cool. Yeah. Because then we could talk about all the notes we missed.
I know he intends to have people that attend the jazz stuff in the future to actually play. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Of it.
And if we're not in a big band, then everybody in the audience at least has their instruments to go. So yeah, that was the jazz reading clinic. It was great. Really good kickoff to the Jazz Institute. I think they said this is year 2, and year 3 will be even better. So for those who are listening, if you didn't go, or if you went to the summer conference and didn't even go to the institute, go to that institute, because some of the best info from the conference came from his little clump of sessions. What came next?
The Pedagogy for Tuba. Ryan Sorensen, who I think is from Stetson.
Yeah, he's the applied tuba professor from Stetson.
So what I liked about that one was a lot of the tips he gave can be applicable to a lot of instruments.
How so?
Well, he talked about breathing a lot and phrasing, which was good. I'm glad he also pointed out that for tuba, holding 4-bar phrases like other instruments is just an advanced skill, and that we should think twice before expecting our young tuba players to do that.
Yeah, breathe where you need to and make it loud.
Just don't breathe on the penultimate note or the last note.
Right.
And just sneak in breaths other ways. And he gave good exercises for training to take in a lot of air in a short amount of time, which I like too. And then the no slip pads that he showed us to put on the lap, I need to probably get some of that.
It's just cabinet liner.
Right.
I have a roll at home, and like the second I saw, like he held up the pad, and I was like, "What is that?" And then he had on the slide, it said cabinet liner. I was like, "Oh, okay, cool, perfect." So I'm like, and you can get that from like Lowe's. You can get that from like Target for cheap. You should text Kaylin and be like, "Pick up cabinet liner."
Not right now. It's fine.
But yeah.
Did you get anything else out of that one?
Yeah. What I agree with everything you said. Like he had a lot of really cool air concepts, and I liked that he verified, because I remember teaching, he verified the breathing for tubas situation, because I remember a couple years ago I had a tuba player he's an 8th grader, he's fine, but I remember when he was a 6th grader he was really small and had shallow breaths, and he could never hold a long tone for like more than 5-6 beats, and I told him, I remember telling him at the time, breathe where you need to, but don't breathe here, don't breathe here. And it was nice to kind of get that verification that, we're not insane.
And he also gave good ideas to help the tubas not be so bored, because they don't get the melody.
Right, that was good too. And that was more affirming than anything, because like with you, and different ideas is, give them the melody, write it out, give it to them.
Or for the whole band. Give it to the whole band.
Give it to the whole, that's a good practice in general. But like give it to the whole band, but also, finding showing them the different, just even if they're just recordings of like really advanced tuba lit, to say this is what you could go for, and these are techniques you can practice and things you can do to keep yourself interested. My favorite thing though was the Thaw Articulation, because and like when he said it, because he was talking about like using, instead of using a ta or a to or a da or a do, use a thaw in the lower range, so that way because as your mouth is more open, that lower tongue placement will allow for a more clean articulation. I didn't believe him, and then he did it. And did you hear the difference?
I did.
I loved it. I was like, that's cool. I got to think twice about how we need to implement that by just rehearsing the phrasing of it, so that you don't have your clarinets using Thaw.
I have that was out of the box. I do believe that it'll happen naturally. As students practice the tuba more, they'll realize that they have to adjust to get a great sound.
Sure.
But if you do ever have a tuba that is that you're getting that sound from them where the response is very late because they're doing ta or da, then whip it out, try Thaw, and just whisper it to them.
Yeah, no, but I definitely like that Thaw. That was that was a surprise, and I even looked over at Dave Schreier, who's the assistant director of bands at UCF. He's a tuba player, and I looked at him, and he kind of gave me like it's new, but I go for it, which was I thought a really interesting take from another collegiate tuba player. But yeah, so that was a good session. What was something from that session that you thought was missing, or maybe just something you're missing?
No, I don't have anything for that one.
Nothing there for that one? I didn't think so either.
Cool. Or for Edgar's.
Yeah. What about what was we went to so many. What was the next one?
Next one is when we had the recruiting stuff.
The recruiting stuff. Did we do
that? Ended up being interesting.
Oh. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you want to elaborate on that one?
Yeah, a little bit. FBA. Hey. So we started figuring out that the titles / subjects listed on the program on the website were not necessarily matching the content that was given at the actual conference. Just a friendly shout out about that. So, and the reason why is, as middle school directors, when we see a title that says recruiting for the high school band program, and the middle school band directors are asked to go to that kind of puts a bad taste in our mouth. Basically. Would you agree?
A little bit. What made it better was that Angela Pagginson.
Right. So we were going to get to that. But
sure.
Tell them what we did.
So what we did is we split up. Where I went to the middle school one, and I actually went up to Angela.
Well, yeah. Before we split up,
okay,
we went to Angela.
That's right. So we went to Angela Pagginson, who's the band director at Timber Springs, and and when it comes to recruitment and retention, she knows what she's doing. And she's a good friend of mine, so I went to her and was just like, hey, can you elaborate on what's happening? And she confirmed that was a portion of the clinic, but that wasn't the whole message, and that we needed to just kind of see the clinic to see what was going down. So what we did is we split, and we let Angela know that we did this, where we had Christian go to the high school session led by Ian Schwint and Bernie Hendricks, which are now president and president-elect of FBA. And then I stayed with Angela in the middle school session. Mm-hmm. And we were just taking notes and sharing notes live to each other as it was happening, just to confirm the message that we didn't go to the wrong session or things are going on. And you want to talk about...
They weren't actually trying to put out that middle school directors are in charge of recruiting for the high school.
And that wasn't the message.
That was not the message.
Which was awesome, because everything that came out of that clinic was really great. Yeah. You want to talk about the high school one?
Well, let's first mention who was in the middle school clinic with Angela. So you already mentioned Angela Pagginson. There's also...
Pagginson.
Pagginson. J.R. Boatwright, David Rosa, Megan Doyle, and it was facilitated by Tamara Lewis. Was there anybody else that...
No, that was it.
Okay. I will say this. About halfway through each session, we realized that they were saying a lot of the same things.
Which is good.
Yeah.
Because that created, let's say...
both sessions apparently were really good. I know that the high school one with Ian and Bernie was awesome.
And it was cool because we were both really glad that they were saying the same thing, because if you're trying to build a 612, or in this case their focus was on a K-12 music program, having that vertical alignment needs to have the same information. So if there were any actual feeder patterns in both those clinics, they both got what they needed, which was really cool. You want to talk about what Ian and Bernie talked about?
Yeah, I'm actually going to go through our notes here, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So Ian's and Bernie came out, and they made sure that we understood that they weren't trying to act like the masters of recruiting. And they also understand that 2020 was a blip year, and they're not going to focus on that. They're going to focus on what we can do now. And they're not going to mention any band fundamentals. And they're going to try and not be boring. Let's see.
With those two, I can't see that ever happening.
Right. And you said that in the middle school, they started out saying, if you build it, they will come. And let's see. Boatwright pointed out that it's important to be a fun teacher and to make sure that other students, even the students that are not in band, know that you're a fun teacher.
Yeah.
I think you said he talked about recruiting from within the school.
Yeah, so him and both Megan Doyle were big advocates of making sure that you're, like, number one, making sure that you're not just the band director, but you're the school's music teacher. So you're out there and about, like, because it's so easy for all band directors to kind of be introverted at the school.
In their own band room bubble.
Just living in the cave, right?
I'm guilty of that.
Yeah, I am this year. Normally I try to be a little more out there. But like it was a good point for them to bring that out and be like, JR's a big recruiting thing of his is that he's just present. All the kids know him. He's walking down the cafeteria back to his band room, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, Mr. Boatwright, Mr. Boatwright!" Like everybody, not just the band kids. But just everybody. And it was the same with Megan Doyle saying, she would every now and then dedicate a planning period, she would dedicate a planning period to helping sub around the school, because especially during the COVID year, like no one had subs ever. So that she would sacrifice a planning period to be with another group of kids and just be like, "Hey, are you not in band? Do you hate school? Come join band." And just kind of recruit from within. And they both have a culture of a minority of their beginners being 7th graders, which I thought was really, really smart. Yeah, what else did we talk? What did we mention?
You pointed out to recruit more than just 5th graders, recruit the whole elementary school.
Yep.
And also,
and Ian corroborated that too, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
The importance of word of mouth in the present. Being present in the community.
Okay.
Both sessions confirmed that. And then, did they talk about surveying students in yours?
Yes, they did.
Okay,
they talked about it multiple times.
Okay, because Ian did too, but he made sure that we understood that when he means survey them, he means ask the tough questions. Are you going to be in band next year? Yes or no? Why or why not?
What I thought was interesting is how, because you said Ian was like, on those days my wife cooks and like.
No, she takes the kids and leaves.
Right, because his whole approach was that he would take it personally, and
he keeps it anonymous. That's
yeah,
the thing.
yeah, keeping it anonymous. Make sure you guys, if you do those surveys, you keep it anonymous. But it was also in the middle school. They said the exact opposite. They were like, "It's just data. You can't take it personally. If you do, you need to adjust your mindset." So that was like the one contradiction that I saw. But that's also like a personality thing.
Ian does take it personally, and he knows it's dumb to say, "Don't take it personally,"
because he does.
Because it is personal.
It is.
It is.
I mean, like,
and that's why he says his wife takes the kids and leaves him alone.
Yeah.
For that day when he's reading and going through that stuff, because it could get you down. It could also get you up.
For the kids who say yes.
Yeah, the kids that also say that you're doing a great job. I did those surveys during COVID because I was trying to keep retention as high as possible. Mm-hmm. It helped a lot, but they weren't anonymous. But I still got a lot of constructive feedback.
Sure, I did a couple of those for different reasons.
We did them on our Mindset Mondays. So.
Yeah, and my retention was really high as well, but it was just, Mindset Mondays were definitely used for that. We could talk about that later. But yeah, all in all, there was a lot of mirroring, and good information from both. So
recruiting and retention is recruiting and retention.
That's right, and that was actually, believe it or not, the actual name of the session for the middle school. Like the leading slide didn't say recruiting for the high school; it just said recruitment and retention.
Yeah,
K-12. So yeah,
talking and tracking students, speaking with every student individually at least once a week.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I think Megan Doyle said that one. That was cool. Either her or Tamara.
Let's see. Yeah, so when it came to actually quote recruiting for the high school, they really just meant promoting the high school.
Yeah.
Because we are the bridge between elementary school and high school.
Yeah, which is part of our job.
Part of our job.
Join the band.
But I'm not going to be the one that is making sure they show up to your band camp. That's going to be you.
Yeah.
Mr. High School, Mrs. High School director. But if you have anything you want me to send them, I'll send it happily.
Absolutely.
Gladly, with enthusiasm.
If you want to come into the band room, come to the band room.
Absolutely, come all the time.
If you have a middle school band night, we'll be there.
Oh yeah.
But you send us the date.
Let's see. That was it.
All, good sessions.
Yeah, those are good sessions. All right, and then the closing remarks with the raffle.
Okay, so let's do the raffle, and then we'll talk about
how we spend it,
and then and then we gotta hit Don Zen's.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about Don Zen's, and then we'll do like a little brief. Here's what we did after Don Zen's.
Let's talk about this raffle.
So at the exhibits, Mary Ozer was in charge of the exhibit. She's band director at Wellington High School, correct?
Yes.
Okay, in Palm Beach, West Palm Beach, and so to encourage people to go to the exhibits and to give the exhibitors people to talk to, she asked us to. She said we can enter a raffle if we get signatures from all the stations, right? And so we did, sit through some.
There were 14.
14. And we did sit through some spiels from the different exhibitors, which was, totally fine. And the exhibits were pretty cool. And but Andrew and I both got our signatures, and turns out I was one of the 5 winners of $100 cash.
A crisp $100 bill.
That's right, baby.
And it was funny because between the bunch, it was like you, myself, and a couple of their friends. We were like, if any one of us win it, we're using that money
tonight.
And so we did. We went to the Froggy Saloon. Shout out to the Froggy Saloon in
classic biker bar, baby.
Classic bar in Daytona Beach. A nice pool table. Cheap cookies and milk for them band directors.
Cheap Kool-Aid.
Cheap Kool-Aid, cheap cookies and milk, and we ended with $14 remaining.
We ended the
It
night
wasn't
with,
between the two of us. It was split between four people. And I bought a $2 bill for my friend who beat me in pool. He's not my friend. He was
that guy was interesting.
Yeah, he came up to us and was like, "Hey, does anybody want to play pool?" And everyone backed away, and I turned around and everyone was gone. So I said yes.
Nose goes, baby. But apparently you two had a similar taste in music.
Yeah, he took out his after he beat me, by the way, because whenever I play,
you almost had him.
Well, the thing is, I'm really I owned a pool table in college, and whenever I play pool, I'm a really good pitcher, but I'm not a Mariano Rivera from the New York Yankees. I'm not a closer. I'm not a closer. So I'm really good at team pool, where I'll rack up all the balls, and then my teammate will close and get the 8-ball in. But I couldn't. I was ahead of him by 3 or 4 balls, and he caught up to me because I just couldn't sink it. So he beat me, and when he beat me, he was the cool thing was he was a cool sport. But he comes up to me, and he's like, "Hey man, what kind of music do you like?" And I go, "You won't believe this, but crunk rap." And he's just like, "What? No way!" And he takes out his headphone. He wasn't using AirPods. He bought those from the 7-Eleven, and he shoved them in my ear. And he was like, "Yo, dude, check out this music." And I was like, and it was so, oh my god. And it was like you could tell that he bought those earbuds when they in 2004, because there was no bass, and it was super harsh and muffled, so you couldn't really hear everything, and it was in my ear. It wasn't like, "Hey man, come check out this music." He literally was like, "Here, put this in your ear and have my earbuds." And I was like, "This is really gross." Yeah, y'all left me alone on that one.
Sorry, dude. I mean, the night was going by pretty quick.
It was.
So,
but yeah, so
I don't even remember him putting that in your ear.
It happened.
I'm very sorry, guys. If you ever meet Andrew, please don't stick anything in his ear.
No, I don't.
Okay.
Just general rule of thumb.
General rule.
But yeah, no, it was shout out to the FBA exhibits.
Yeah, that was cool. I look forward to going to all the exhibits again next year.
Yeah, those raffles are nice.
Yeah,
I was in.
But that happened after. So between winning the $100 and going to the Froggy Saloon, we had Don Zentz for the opening of the Jazz Institute.
The King of Kings.
That clinic was awesome.
Oh my god! So it was so that clinic. Do you want to do it or you want me to do it?
I'll start. You finish because you made it through farther than I did.
Yes, I did.
Right. So this was basically called 0 to Hero, jazz improvisation.
A diagnostic test.
He basically started out with the very basics on how to build your vocabulary for improv. And he talked about scales and doing scales different than the all-state style, and adding the ninth in the scale patterns, and then doing pentascales.
A pentascale, yeah.
On the root and on the dominant, also doing the same thing on the Dorian mode of the scales.
Yep.
And using that to build your vocabulary, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
He's also director at Douglas Anderson.
Yeah, he's correct? The jazz director at DA. He's done jazz at every level. He was jazz at UNF. He's taught middle school. He's taught elementary school. He's taught high school. Like he's done it all. Yeah. Like he's the king of kings in jazz Florida.
What else did he touch on?
So I thought I really liked before I talk about that, the thing that I took away was the pentascales, and just doing the dooba 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 dooba, doing that on just a progression sounded cool. It works, and you can, in like how he was able to rehearse that. I took that. That was my number one takeaway from his clinic. Was like, I'm gonna do that, because that was really, really cool. After he talked about that, he got into talking about 2/5s. Did you get lost on the major 2/5s and the minor 2/5s?
No, I get 2/5-1s. I understood that, but he made it even more simple, which is cool too, using the pentascales. Using
pentascales, but also for 2/5s, mainly using the Dorian mode.
Right.
So because a lot of people will talk about, when you do 2/5-1, you could use the major scale and then go to the mixolydian scale and then change again and follow the changes.
He was you don't even need to worry about waste your time on the mixolydian.
I've heard his philosophy a couple of times of like just what you want to do is you find the fewest scales possible that fit over the most number of changes. And in a major 2/5-1, it was the Dorian scale, which was awesome. And then he went into minor 2/5s. And he had me through minor 2/5s, because what I remember when he was doing Autumn Leaves and he was doing those licks, and those licks got more intense. I'm gonna nerd out theory wise for a second. It was really, really cool because I was hanging out with Michael Gabriel, the band director Flanagan, and we were both looking over the same changes, and he and I both noticed that Don wrote one of the licks that Don wrote over a minor 2/5 was the Dorian to the mixolydian. So it was the 2 of the 5 of the 1 that he used, and he used that scale to write the lick over the minor 2/5s, and I caught it, and my mind was like, pow! It was the coolest thing that I saw from that clinic. And then he went into diminished scales, and then I went to Mars, because it was 8:30 and my ADHD had tapped out. I was done. And he went on for like another 15-20 minutes, and he got probably as far as he possibly could. And the whole purpose of that clinic was just, it was really cool because it was preparation for Thursday. It was preparation for Thursday morning of, and we'll get into this in a second, but it was, they had for the rest of the Jazz Institute, it was, these are the beginning sessions and these are the advanced sessions. And depending on how you did and how far you got in Dawn's session determined where you went. I thought that was super cool. So kudos again to Edgar to setting that up, because the Jazz Institute definitely stole the show this year, in my opinion. All the sessions were great for the whole conference, but the Jazz Institute was probably my favorite part, just because of how it was organized. It was very well thought out. So yeah, Don's a god, and he can go.
Yeah. So what Andrew touched on about it being a test for the sessions you go to the next day, there were two blocks of sessions. In the first block, there were 2 sessions. One was overcoming the fear of improvisation, teaching your students to overcome the fear of improvisation. And at the same time was Beyond the Blues. So this is more advanced improvisation. Mm-hmm. And so basically, if you have students that say no to improvising, or they're scared of improvising, they quit jazz band because of improvising, this was a great clinic to go to. Michelle zoomed in. Michelle Fernandez zoomed in and gave about a 20-minute overview of the different concepts, psychological concepts that go into helping students get over their fear and anxiety of improvising.
You can tell she knows
anything
kids
in general. Sorry?
You could tell she knows kids.
Oh, absolutely. But what it all boiled down to was making it as easy and as accessible as possible.
Yeah.
And then I can't remember the name of the guy that came.
It was
after
Robert
her.
Keating, I think.
Robert Keating and his wife gave a few practical exercises to do that went along with what Michelle said. And we both went to that session, so we're not sure what went on in the advanced.
I probably should have gone to the advanced just so we could have covered it.
Yeah, hindsight's 2020.
That's
but
right.
I'm sure it was good. That was with Tony Mayato.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you want to add to the improv one?
I really, really liked how it was a little affirming, because there are certain moments like the general best practices when you got those kids. I liked how she reinforced, dimming the lights, making it a cool environment, making it a calm environment.
Oh yeah.
I liked how she was about being explicit about, this is a safe space. If you make fun, how I would have said it is, because she said if you make fun of someone's solo, like, that's not okay, you can't do that. I think the Andrew Lopez version is, if you make fun of this solo, I'm gonna make fun of yours. So right. Don't, enforcing to the kids, don't make fun of each other's solos, because that's not acceptable. That's not what we're here to do. I really liked spreading. I usually typically have the kids improvise all at the same time, which is one thing she talked about, but she took it a step further, having them spread out around the room. So they can't
cranking up the backing track,
and they can't even hear each other.
Right.
I thought that was awesome, because now you could spread them out to everyone has those internal speakers in their room. You could spread them out to those areas and have them listen, and no one's watching. The only one watching is Mr. Lopez and Mr. Gordon. I thought that was awesome. And her, again, you could tell that from her advice and from her information and her content, she really understands the middle school kid. And it wasn't just for middle school kids; it was for all kids. But you could tell, she knew how the psychology of those kids, which I thought was the most useful. I like.
Yep, it was the most useful for sure.
I like Bobby Keating's ideas. I hope he uploaded that lick page. But it was yeah. No.
I hope he did too.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm actually hoping that they uploaded Don Zent's handouts. Because somebody is gonna get really angry if she doesn't get those handouts.
It's neither of us. We are not at liberty to disclose that. But yeah, so definitely
adult children.
Yeah, definitely be kind to your clinicians, and also
the audience.
Also the audience, and if you word of advice, if you want handouts, get there early. Instead of walking in 10 minutes late. But yeah.
Nicely put, my friend.
Yeah, but it was a good session. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Bobby Keating, for helping with that. Bobby Keating had a nice trumpet sound. I will say that. I liked his jazz trumpet sound. It's always nice to see band directors who can play to that level. We should all be able to play in general. But yeah. So then one more session was
second block. Was about rhythm section. There was a beginning middle school rhythm section and then high school rhythm section.
Amen.
Now it turns out for the high school one, John Normandin came in, or was John Normandin the one for the improv?
I think John Norman was the one with the improv because Jeff Rupert and Richard Jexler, and he brought the Flying Horse Big Band rhythm section from UCF. Jeff Rupert was my professor, so it was nice to see him. But yeah, he led the second one, as he should. Because that session for the advanced one was your rhythm section knows what they're doing. Here is how they can now do it together with each other, and it was very advanced rhythm section comping, when knowing teaching that instinct that rhythm section players need when working with a horn soloist or working in a combo or just helping lead the band in general. So that was how he covered it. And there were shout out to also West Boca, because there were a bunch of South Florida kids in that rhythm section. I noticed, I saw a couple, I was like, oh, I know that kid. But yeah, so
but the clinic we went to
was led by Abe Allam.
Yeah.
He was actually Abe Allam Odai. He's a professor at Full Sail University in Winter Park, Florida. But he and I were actually together in Rupert's band at UCF, and he called me. I was like, and there's Angel Lopez, and I go,
I actually called on you several times.
Yeah, I was like, hi, I don't matter. I'm just gonna sit here. But his information was just basically how to get the rhythm sections, like once they're set up literally with equipment, the different responsibilities of each, and the very these are the basic fundamentals that all of your rhythm section should know, so that they can move on to Rupert's session. Talking about just a couple examples, talking about how you literally want to set them up in chairs facing certain directions so that they can see each other.
They should be friends.
They should be friends. You as a band director, he's not wrong, really.
No,
you as
absolutely not.
You as a band director deciding which rhythm per chart, because depending on the style, different members of the rhythm section are in charge. Usually it's the bass player, but it can also be the drummer, and then making sure that different people line up. It was pretty useful. I always forgot how eccentric he was, but like Abe Alum, you hear him on guitar, that dude's a monster. It's like,
missed it.
Well, I don't know if you heard, like when he was talking about the chord voicings, like 1s, 3s, and 7s. And he had those turned up the most, but he threw in like a sharp 13 every now and then, or like a flat 5, and it was like, it sounds like a wrong note when the extensions are that
All
light.
I know is it didn't sound like 3-5-7.
It was 1-3-7.
Or 1-3-7.
Yeah,
so
5's not necessary.
So he started playing and he said 1-3-7. Oh, okay. I know what that sounds like. That's not what it sounds like.
And then he threw in like a dominant 7, flat 13, sharp 9, neutral 5, signs. It was crazy because but that's who he is, and like those are the voicings that he uses in his guitars. So I thought
Did he throw in a catch-22?
What do you mean? oh, okay.
I did wish that they went into more the more practical stuff with like how do you put together the drum set, or like what amps you should have, chords you should have, because he touched on those things, but it was tangents to the main message, which was make sure your rhythm section looks at each other, they're friends outside of rehearsal, and the basics for the guitarist and the bassist.
Each kid started.
Yeah. So I will say that, but other than that, it was fun to listen to him and to get little gems from that.
Watch Kathy Leibinger play bass.
Yeah, shout out Kathy and happy birthday.
Yeah. Oh yeah, happy birthday.
It was her birthday that day.
That's right. So that was the conference in the whole.
How are we on time?
We're good. We got at minimum we got like another 15 minutes to kill.
What are we at now?
37.
37. Okay.
Yeah, we can keep going because we want to talk about things that we thought were missing, or maybe ideas for next year.
So yeah, let's go ahead and do that. So outside of what was already mentioned, I'll say that. Hang on, don't talk.
No, yeah. So you got up. Actually, fun fact: we're currently in like Christian and his girlfriend Kaylin's second bedroom, and we've just like super padded the place up and super dead. So, and also, if there was like thunder and lightning earlier, like it's because we're in Florida in June or July.
And a hurricane's coming
in July, and there's a hurricane like 2 days away. So everybody chill.
Hurricane Elsa.
It's the Florida Band Podcast. What you
Welcome back to the Florida Band Podcast.
We never took a break.
We never took a break. That was basically a break. I had to go get the air. But
all right.
So I will say that the theme of the conference was building back better. So it was a little out of touch in that, guys, we just went through COVID. Almost every band program in the state of Florida has just been wrecked.
We're in tatters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not just Florida, but everywhere, right?
Yeah, everywhere.
So before we get back to teaching tone to the kids that have been online, or posture, that's probably going to be the biggest thing, to kids online.
Posture, air, and tone.
Yeah. We have to repair our instrumentation. We have to recruit over the summer. We probably don't have the numbers that we want. I mean, you had a scare for a minute at your school.
Craig
which we could probably talk about on another episode, but you had to do some summer recruiting. The school year was over, and you had to do some summer recruiting.
Last week of school recruiting.
Yeah, and you're okay now. Yeah, but like, what about schools that you know don't have that network or that admin support looking out for us?
Yep.
What do we do about our schedules? What if your admin is taking classes away from you because your numbers are so low?
Right.
And how do you get them back?
Yep.
Or how do you hold them for one more year? How do you get your principal to see that this was an off year because of COVID?
View that long game.
Things like that. That's what I would have loved to see more at the conference. But again, not everybody is really thinking about that because it was such an anomaly. COVID. And I will say also that they're probably just really excited to get back to real band again.
I think that's the biggest one is the excitement. Yeah. And we touched on it in part 1. I don't know if you remember, but like we can't get a lot of PD through the entire year across the entire country didn't want to get too real because it's been real all year. Like
that's true.
I personally know too many band directors and music teachers and teachers who just had enough this year, justifiably. And not everybody made it to the end. And a lot of people, myself included, almost did make it. Like there are moments where it's like, you know what, man, I could go be a multi-level marketer and start a pyramid scheme. And go do Herbalife. But like
okay, let's relax. We have friends that do that stuff.
Yeah, I know. But it's just but like there are a lot of people who didn't make it. There are a lot of people that almost didn't make it, and there are few people who would thrived in every way possible. Like that wasn't really a thing. So I understand. While I don't agree with it because I'm a Grinch, I understand why it was tried to make more positive, because all in all, a positive vibe is better than a negative vibe or a real vibe. Maybe even if just they include one session of like when keeping it real goes right or something like that.
True.
And it's just like, well, let's keep it real and moving in positive direction. So I agree that's a big criticism, but that's not a shout out as a calling out of FBA. That's just the climate we're in, and it's a Sophie's choice.
Speaking of multi-level marketing, cue the sad music.
The sad music?
Please.
What's sad music?
It's not a pyramid scheme.
Oh. No, oh, you're reading.
They are illegal.
No.
It's called multi-level marketing, and it's an amazing opportunity. Please just try it. Be your own boss and make a ton of money on the side, please.
So we're talking about if you don't follow Middle Class Fancy on Instagram, you need to follow Middle Class Fancy right now. Shout out to multi-level marketing. But yeah, it's I would say
we
that's
should
one
make a multi-level marketing for band
for the Florida Band Podcast.
If you have any podcasts, if any of you want to start a podcast
under our podcast,
and
give your money and whatever earnings you give, feed it up to us,
and whoever you bring in under your podcast, you get 2% of what they make,
and also have them listen to us and not you instead.
Correct. And then eventually be your own boss and earn passive income.
Be your own boss.
Other than, just doing normal investments on like Vanguard.
Whatever. Anyway,
or investing in real estate.
We have money opinions that we're not qualified to give, but it's
multi-level marketing.
Stop.
We're qualified to give that advice.
Was there anything? Was there anything else that you thought?
I am done. I am good.
You're good? Yeah.
I am good.
I guess I am too. So shout out to the Florida Band Masters Association with their summer conference. It was I would say that for the we took a year off because everyone took a year off because of COVID, but for us to be able to come back and this was our first real conference in person.
It was great.
In 2 years, and it was awesome, and we're really glad that it happened. We're really glad that we could be there.
We'll go next year.
Yeah, that's the plan. Save up the best we can.
See how much it improves.
Save up the best we can. And we are out to help them solve that poor attendance issue. Like, we're gonna tell everybody you didn't go. It sucks to suck, bro.
If you go, I'll buy you $2 PBR
from the Froggy Saloon.
From the Froggy Saloon, baby.
But that's it, because everything else is too expensive. And by too expensive, we mean like $3 instead of $2.
So thanks for tuning in. This has been the Florida Band Podcast,
and we will see you guys next time. You know why you're here. You know why you came. Peace out. Thanks for listening to the Florida Band Podcast. Follow us on YouTube and contact us at flbandpodcast@gmail.com. Catch you next time.